Imagine taking one tiny clove, placing it under your tongue, and waiting. At first, nothing seems dramatic. Then a warm, sharp, slightly numbing feeling begins to spread. Your mouth notices it before your mind does. And that is exactly where the story of clove becomes interesting, because this little spice has spent centuries living in two worlds at once. In one world, it is a kitchen ingredient. In the other, it is a traditional remedy, a dental aid, a flavoring, and a source of one of the most studied natural compounds in plant science. The compound is called eugenol, and it is the reason clove has such a strong aroma and such a strong reputation. Research has found that eugenol and clove extracts can show antimicrobial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and even pain-relieving activity. But most of that evidence comes from laboratory and animal studies, not from large human trials that prove dramatic health effects in everyday life. That is why this simple-looking habit has become so popular online. People hear the phrase, "Put a clove under your tongue for 10 minutes," and they imagine something almost magical. They imagine clearer breath, calmer inflammation, cleaner arteries, better digestion, stronger immunity, or some hidden health switch turning on inside the body. But science, as always, asks a more careful question. What exactly is happening in that mouth? What is clove really doing? And what is the difference between a traditional practice, a useful chemical effect, and an actual medical benefit? Those are not the same thing. Clove is real, eugenol is real, and the body's reaction to it is real. But the leap from real sensation to real cure is a very long leap, and it should never be made without evidence. Let's begin with the chemistry. Clove buds contain a high concentration of eugenol, which is the major active compound responsible for much of clove's smell, taste, and biological activity. Reviews of clove and eugenol describe antibacterial and antifungal effects, along with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory actions, and some papers also describe analgesic or local anesthetic properties. In dentistry, eugenol has been widely used in products intended for temporary pain relief because it can soothe irritated tissue and produce a numbing effect. That is part of the reason people still reach for clove oil or clove-based remedies when a tooth hurts. But a soothing effect does not automatically mean a disease is being treated. It may only mean a symptom is being dulled for a short time. That point matters because the internet loves to turn symptom relief into a miracle story. A person feels less pain and suddenly the clove is detoxing the body, killing every harmful cell or resetting health from the inside out. But the science is more restrained than the marketing. Human evidence for clove as a health treatment is limited, and many of the strongest claims come from test tubes, petri dishes, or animal studies. Those studies are useful. They help scientists understand mechanisms. They show that a compound can affect bacteria, inflammation, or oxidative stress under controlled conditions. But they do not prove that placing a clove under the tongue will cure a problem in a living human being with a complex digestive system, varied diet, sleep patterns, medication use, and different levels of inflammation. Still, it is fair to ask why the mouth reacts so quickly. The answer is simple. The mouth is highly sensitive. The area under the tongue is rich in blood vessels and nerve endings, which is part of the reason some medicines are designed to dissolve there. That route can let compounds absorb quickly. But absorption is only one part of the story. When clove sits under the tongue, it is also directly touching delicate tissue. And eugenol is not a gentle, flavorless sugar molecule. It is a biologically active aromatic compound, and in some people it can create irritation, burning, or numbness. Reviews of eugenol have documented localized irritation, ulcers, allergic dermatitis, tissue injury, and oral reactions such as stomatitis or burning mouth symptoms in association with dental products or oral exposure. In other words, the mouth may feel something because the tissue is being stimulated, not necessarily because the body is being healed. That is why caution matters, A single whole clove used briefly is not the same as swallowing a spoonful of oil. A kitchen spice is not the same as a concentrated essential oil. And the distinction between those two is one of the most important things anyone can learn about natural remedies. Small culinary amounts of clove are generally regarded as safe in food, and clove oil is classified in some references as generally recognized as safe in specific food-related uses. But when clove becomes concentrated, the risk changes sharply. Overdose reports and medical references describe mouth and throat burns, nervous system symptoms, breathing problems, severe liver injury, and kidney injury from large ingestions of clove oil or eugenol-containing products. Children appear especially vulnerable in published overdose cases. That is not a small side effect. That is a serious toxicology warning. So when someone says, "I put a clove under my tongue and felt something," that may be entirely believable. The sensation is plausible. The mouth is sensitive, eugenol is active, and the tissue responds quickly. But the important question is not whether a sensation happens. The important question is whether that sensation translates into meaningful health improvement. And for most health goals people attach to this trick, the answer is not proven. Clove may have antimicrobial effects in lab settings, and eugenol may help reduce pain in dental contexts, but that is very different from proving that this practice will lower blood pressure, cure infection, remove toxins, repair organs, or reverse chronic disease. Science asks for more than a story. It asks for reproducible evidence in humans, with dosing, safety, and outcomes that actually matter. That said, the reason people keep returning to clove is understandable. We live in an age where health feels complicated, expensive, and fragmented. People want something simple. They want a small action that feels meaningful. A tiny spice under the tongue offers that. It feels ancient. It feels natural. It feels like you are doing something proactive for your body. And sometimes that instinct is not wrong. Simple food ingredients can absolutely be part of a healthy lifestyle. Spices can add flavor, reduce reliance on excess sugar or salt, and contribute beneficial plant compounds to the diet. But a healthy lifestyle is built from patterns, not from one dramatic trick. One clove does not replace sleep, exercise, balanced meals, hydration, oral hygiene, medication when needed, and regular medical care. The body changes because of repeated habits, not because of a viral shortcut. Think about it this way. If clove truly were a powerful cure-all simply because it sits under the tongue, we would expect medical guidelines to celebrate it. We would expect large clinical trials. We would expect clear dosing recommendations for common diseases. We would expect doctors to prescribe it with confidence. But that is not what the evidence shows. Instead, what we see is a spice with interesting bioactive properties, a compound that has earned a place in dental and laboratory research, and a substance that must be treated with respect because the same chemistry that makes it potentially useful can also make it irritating or toxic at higher exposures. That balance is exactly what science is good at revealing. It does not force us to choose between miracle and worthless. It tells us the truth in the middle, useful in some contexts, unproven in others, and potentially harmful when misused. There is also a major safety lesson here for anyone who uses home remedies. Oral tissue is not armor. Under the tongue, the lining is thin and sensitive. If a substance causes burning, swelling, ulceration, or a strange numbness that lingers, that is not a sign you should push through for the sake of detox. It is a sign to stop. Medical references note that clove oil overdose can burn the mouth and throat, while eugenol exposure has been associated with oral ulcers and allergic reactions. Some people may tolerate a tiny spice exposure well and still react badly to concentrated extracts or repeated use. Sensitivity varies. A remedy that feels harmless in one person can create a real problem in another. And that brings us to one of the most important distinctions in all of nutrition and natural medicine. Food is not medicine in the same way a drug is medicine, and a drug is not food. A clove in a stew is one thing, a clove in the mouth for minutes at a time is another. And essential oil in a bottle is another entirely. The dose, the form, the duration, and the route all matter. This is why people can be misled by headlines that sound dramatic but leave out the details. A headline may say, "Clove is anti-inflammatory," and that is not wrong, but it can be misleading if it never explains that the effect was observed in a lab at a specific concentration, under specific conditions, and not necessarily in the way social media suggests. Science is not about repeating impressive words. It is about matching the claim to the evidence. Now let us be fair. Clove is not useless. Far from it. Its history in cooking, traditional medicine, and dental care exists for a reason. Eugenol has been used to ease tooth pain, and clove-based preparations have a long history of topical use in oral care. Research has described analgesic and local anesthetic effects, and clove extracts have shown antimicrobial activity against a range of organisms in preclinical work. That is real science. It is simply not the same as proof that holding a clove under the tongue is a universal healing technique. The best version of science-based thinking is not cynicism. It is precision. It says, this part may be useful, this part is uncertain, this part is risky, and this part is simply not established. That kind of thinking protects people from both fear and fantasy. If you are thinking about trying this because of pain, especially dental pain, the more important question is not whether clove has a temporary numbing effect. The more important question is why the pain is there in the first place. A toothache can come from decay, infection, gum disease, a cracked tooth, sinus pressure, or another issue that needs proper care. A clove may briefly distract the nerve, but it will not remove the cause. That is a critical difference. Temporary relief can be helpful while you are waiting for care, but it should never delay care. If a mouth problem is persistent, worsening, associated with swelling, fever, or difficulty swallowing, it needs medical or dental evaluation. A spice is not a substitute for diagnosis. What about the promise of general wellness? Some people place a clove under the tongue hoping it will support digestion, clear the blood, improve circulation, sharpen the mind, or clean the body. Those ideas sound appealing because they sound simple. But the human body is not a pipe that needs a quick scrub. It is a living system made of organs, hormones, nerves, microbes, immune cells, and metabolic pathways. If you want to improve it, the most powerful interventions are rarely exotic. They are often basic: better sleep, more movement, fewer ultra-processed foods, adequate protein, fiber, vegetables, hydration, oral hygiene, and treatment for conditions that are actually present. Clove can be part of a healthy diet, but no spice can replace the bigger biology of health. There is a reason researchers keep studying eugenol, and it is not because it is a magic trick. It is because natural compounds often act like keys to understanding biology. They may interact with microbes, inflammation pathways, pain signaling, or oxidative processes. That can inspire future medicines, better dental products, or smarter uses of plant compounds. But between discovery and clinical recommendation lies a long road of testing. Many compounds look promising early and then disappoint later. That is not failure. That is how science separates hope from proof. Clove belongs in that category of promising but not overhyped. Its story is interesting enough without exaggeration. Its actual chemistry is fascinating. Its risks are real enough to respect, and its benefits are specific enough not to invent. So what should you take from a 10-minute clove habit? Take the truth. The truth is that clove contains eugenol, and eugenol is biologically active. The truth is that you may feel a numbing or warming sensation. The truth is that small culinary use is very different from concentrated use. The truth is that clove and eugenol have shown useful activity in laboratory and dental contexts, but the human evidence is limited for broad health claims. The truth is also that too much clove oil can be dangerous, especially for children, and can cause serious poisoning. That is the kind of balanced understanding that protects health better than any viral promise ever could. And if someone asks whether they should try it, the most honest answer is this. As a spice in food, clove can be part of a healthy diet. As a concentrated remedy, it deserves caution. As a miracle treatment, it has not earned that title. If a clove under the tongue makes you feel a brief sensory effect, that is a chemical interaction, not a cure. If it burns, irritates, or causes discomfort, stop immediately. If you are using it for pain, do not let a temporary numbing sensation hide a problem that needs proper care. The body always tells the truth in the end. The only question is whether we listen to it early enough. That is why the most powerful health habits are often the least dramatic. They are the habits that work day after day, quietly, without viral noise. They are the meals that support your cells, the sleep that repairs your brain, the movement that protects your heart, the checkups that catch disease early, and the caution that keeps a small spice from becoming a dangerous experiment. Clove may be tiny, but the lesson it teaches is large. In health, size is not the same as strength. A small thing can matter. A small thing can also mislead. The difference is knowledge, and knowledge is what turns a trend into wisdom. So the next time you hear this claim, remember the simple version of science. Clove is interesting, eugenol is powerful. The mouth is sensitive, the evidence is limited, the risks rise with concentration, and the body does not need miracles as much as it needs consistency, care, and truth. That is what science reveals. Not hype, not fantasy, not a shortcut, just a deeper, more honest understanding of one small spice and the very real chemistry it carries.